The Responsible Innovation Summit unites thought leaders, innovators and change makers from all around the world in the vibrant field of responsible, value-driven innovation. On October 20th and 21st, this virtual event is going to feature more than 250 delegates from more than 10 countries. This year's edition aims to inspire business leaders, researchers, and policymakers to build back better after the COVID-19 pandemic. It's a great pleasure today to welcome three guests in this week's Responsible Innovation Story. Szilvia Szabo, who's one of the organizers of the summit, Mac Sweeney and Norman Thompson, both from the Dublin City Council that supported the summit from the very beginning 4 years ago. Szilvia, Mary, Norman, thank you very much for taking the time for this talk today. Szilvia, you've been organizing the summit since 2017. How did you come across the idea of organizing such an event?
Yeah, probably if I look back now, it was kind of a momentary error in judgment that we can do something like that. So in that sense, it was like, the first year was pretty much a pilot if we can do something, as big as the Responsible Innovation Summit. I have been working on climate innovation projects previously, so I got used to working with various stakeholders. And then when I finally got the idea of what's responsible research and innovation about, I was just fascinating about the knowledge and the experience, what you can find in the academic sector. And, I had the drive to translate this and connect people in this field. And, here we are today and talking about the 4th edition.
What was the main idea and purpose of this event?
Yeah, the main mission with the event was to really put things into action, and I was involved with some RRI projects, and it was always a struggle to get business partners involved and, just try to find the language that would, fit everyone. So the main mission with the conference is to really bring those leaders together who are working towards probably the same goals, but coming with different backgrounds, with different angles, and kind of just cross-pollinate ideas and provide a space and the cause to get together. So if you're a researcher, you would rarely go to a business conference. And if you're a business leader, you would probably never go to an academic conference. So the idea with the Responsible Innovation Summit is to kind of, make it attractive enough for each and every stakeholder who can make a difference in this space and, literally throw these people into the same space and get them to talk to each other.
So you're addressing businesses and researchers at the same time with the same event?
Yeah, it would be too easy. So we added the policymakers as well, because most of the time it comes down to funding policy to actually make change happen on an everyday basis for a business, for example. So in that way, it's kind of a triangle.
What are the main topics and the perspectives of this year's Responsible Innovation Summit?
So we took the Build Back Better approach from the European Union, basically, which is kind of, how we can be smarter after the COVID pandemic. So we break it down into 4 main sections during the 2 days. One is kind of creating the new business as usual, which will hopefully be more reflecting on how you can integrate values into your business model and make profit with purpose. So that's going to be one building block. The other is the communication element of it and how we can change the narrative to, make the dialogue more accessible and involve more people from the collaboration side of things, and even kind of, using the good force of marketing and communication techniques in doing that. And then on the financial part, because, it's like you can talk about nice things and you can say nice things, but unless you have the resources to make this happen, you would be just a sitting duck. So finance and financing this positive change will be the third element. And then finally, obviously, we have the research and the innovation side of things, which is kind of fueling all these great changes.
Do you think that the COVID crisis now is a game changer for responsible innovation, or is it a distraction?
It is a golden opportunity to, really embrace a systemic change, because usually you hear words like transition and long-term strategic plans in 10, 15, 20 years, which is like, not that actionable in a way. So I think now we have a clean slate and just try to do something better with it.
When you want to communicate responsible innovation, is it more business interest or is it more societal need, or the link of both?
I don't think that it's exclusive. I mean, it shouldn't be. That's why, we created this notion of making profit with purpose. So for me, that's kind of, the way how you can reach out to the business society. And one of the communication evolution that we went through with the conference is kind of coming up with a little where to show this. So it's like a magazine, like a Vogue magazine for responsible innovation, where we kind of, use very easy to digest content, again, with a great visual to reach out to people. And I know that it's print and it looks like old fashioned, but especially nowadays when you spend most of your time in front of your computer, it's just nice to have a cup of coffee and read something real.
How can responsible innovation contribute to solving grand societal challenges?
I think it's not a question of if it can. It has to. It's like, I think that's the responsibility of, the research community to make it happen and reach out and, get decision makers to understand what's this all about. Because once it's understood, I think it's just kind of, gives superpowers to everyone involved. Probably secretly, everyone hopes for a vaccine for, COVID-19. And, sooner or later, probably we will have it, but there are no vaccines for climate change or the loss of biodiversity or social issues that we have to deal with anyway. So I think the mindset, what we can embrace now with the COVID situation, is the most important takeaway for every leader, because the mindset is what you're going to actually use to solve other challenges. And that's what I really like about responsible innovation, that it's a way of thinking, literally. So it's like, once you have it for life.
Thank you very much. Our second guest in this week's Responsible Innovation Story is Mary Mac Sweeney. She's Deputy Head of Enterprise and Economic Development at Dublin City Council, and she's going to give the keynote address on responsible innovation at the Responsible Innovation Summit, entitled Systemic Change for a Green and Just Recovery. What is systemic change?
Well, I think this is where the Responsible Innovation Summit is very important to us in Dublin. I think to introduce systemic change, we need to understand better, what are the factors that are negatively impacting on our cities and societies. And I think the systemic piece then is fundamental change, where we approach things differently. I suppose one of the biggest learnings, for us recently is looking at circular economy and how we approach everything from how we design a product to, what happens to that product when it gets broken, to the complete life cycle. So I think the more we learn, the more we understand how we can approach, we're still going to have needs and wants as people and cities and societies, but maybe there's a better way to meet those needs and wants that is fairer to the planet and ultimately better for the people.
Does systemic change require new leadership skills?
I believe it does. I think the challenge for leaders is, if you don't feel expert in an area, it's easy to avoid dealing with that topic or that subject and stick to your area of expertise. And I think this is the beauty of what Szilvia has done with the Responsible Innovation Summit. It brings people together from different sectors, different understanding, different strengths, and it's a comfortable way to learn, and you don't have to be the expert.
How can we ensure that the individual actors, the individual companies, understand their role in the whole system?
Well, I think that's the beginning. For any change, people have to see the reason and the need for that change, because change is difficult, change is expensive, change tests leaders and all people. And I think that's why, attending an event like the Responsible Innovation Summit, it's an easy way in. To start the change, people have to understand the real drive for change. And I think we can all get lost in our smaller worlds, whereas the Responsible Innovation Summit sets us the global, the European, the national, the local context. And I think when you understand this is not just a change that we need to make in Dublin, but this change is being driven all around the globe, and how can we best understand it and choose the elements of it that suit us as a city and as a people, and drive those changes forward.
What are the business cases for responsible innovation that you find out there in the business sector?
When I started attending the Responsible Innovation Summit in 2017, that was the first time I was aware that there was such a change in consumer trends, where people want to know more about where their products are made, who's involved in it, the supply chains. And I think that, is getting stronger all of the time. So from a business person's perspective, you can't keep doing as you're doing now and expect your business to thrive in the future. You have to be open to the shifting demands from consumers, and not just consumers, but for businesses. They're part of a complex supply chain. So the larger businesses buying from them will have a whole set of expectations that they're going to meet certain standards, and that they can not only meet them, but demonstrate them. So these are some of the things that we've been trying to work with businesses to recognise in Dublin. And we've developed a circular economy training programme called Modus, that again is a way for them to engage with it without maybe being threatened by the threat of the change, but to see the huge opportunity also within that change. And the earlier you can engage with that and understand it in the context of your business, the stronger your business will be going forward.
Will the COVID crisis change the way we innovate in the future?
What we have realised is that we can do so much working remotely. We didn't, I suppose, realise as a working city that was possible. 56% of people in Dublin are now working remotely, and 41% of them see that they will be working remotely in the future. But I think the question with the responsible innovation is then, how do we use what is at our resources to create fairer societies where we don't have the winners and the losers, but those that are digitally engaged, I think, will do better and survive the post-COVID situation better. So, how do we ensure that those that are remote from that can be better connected? So I think there is a real time now for people to reflect on what do we need to do to shape the next phase of our cities and societies.
Isn't there also the term resilience, a resilient society, a new target of innovation?
Absolutely. And I think sometimes I feel COVID has maybe forced us to look a bit more broadly at resilience, because, our mental health is one thing that has been impacted by COVID. So we can just be thinking about workers and businesses and performing cities and competitiveness, but how are we as people managing the new demands on us? So I think resilience is a really useful term, because you can be quite broad in how you think about resilience, and also, we want to enjoy living, and the restrictions maybe have made us reflect more on what we took for granted before. But, we all love the cities that we live and work in, and we want to bring back as much of the lifestyle that we enjoyed and is temporarily not available to us.
What do you expect to happen within the next 3 to 5 years in the area of responsible innovation? What are trends? What might be some game changers?
Well, I think that's one of the things we've seen with COVID and its impact on our societies and our cities. It is accelerating a number of the trends. So, the digitization is one trend that is being massively accelerated. And again, we need to reflect on, what does that mean for us, and what do we welcome as part of that, and what maybe do we have fears about or concerns about, or aspects of living that we don't want to let go of. So certainly the digitization is a big one. And then, the whole question of what does it mean to be green cities, and, what will our lives look like if we're living in carbon reduced or carbon neutral environments. So I think that green and digitization are two of the big trends that we're going to see accelerating. And I suppose we need time to shape out, and understand what that will mean for each of us and for the way we live.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our third guest today is Norman Thompson. He's economic development researcher at Dublin City Council and works to strengthen the vibrant innovation ecosystem in Dublin. Norman, what are your personal highlights in this year's agenda of the Responsible Innovation Summit?
I mean, first of all, I would say the summit itself is a highlight that it's going ahead despite all the uncertainty that we've all been dealing with. If you're going to push me to pick one specific item on the agenda, I would probably say the panel that's looking at collaboration. That's not because I'm on that panel, but it's because I think when you look at something like responsible innovation, I think collaboration is absolutely vital. I think responsible innovation, for me, a fantastic representation of that quadruple helix model for innovation, which you're linking society, government, enterprise, and university together. And I feel like for any of these models or constructs to achieve progress, collaboration has to be key. You need to have that multifaceted and dynamic collaboration between the different partners.
Can responsible innovation help us to translate between the 4 different groups of the quadruple helix?
I think so. Certainly, I think responsible innovation, given its holistic and extensive nature, I think it provides a vehicle. It's like a hub to bring these different players together.
If you want to explain responsible innovation to a company that never came across responsible innovation before, how would you explain to them what is responsible innovation and what is the benefit of responsible innovation?
If we use terms like impact on society, your community, nature, environment, I think that will resonate with them, and it's something that they will hopefully be able to contemplate and then put some measurements in place around their impact. Obviously, if the conversation goes deeper, you can then point more towards responsible innovation being obviously a holistic concept.
In a nutshell, the benefits of responsible innovation?
I think, as far as I'm concerned, the benefits is really, it comes down to future-proofing, and I mean that in the sense of if you have a business, if you're not going to adopt things like responsible innovation, I don't believe you can be properly future-proofed.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.